Das werden wir wohl jetzt erfahren.
Excuse me if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! Oh, you finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Mit Hilfe einiger Fatui bringt Freminet eine Steinplatte auf die Bühne.
Is that the first prophecy slate?
Jetzt wird's interessant.
Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no. Father will be disappointed in me.
Keine Sorge, das Geheimnis wurde noch nicht gelüftet.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
Es scheint, dass der ehemalige Hydroarchon seine göttliche Kraft freisetzt, um Okeaniden in Menschen zu verwandeln. Das ist also die Erbsünde. Jeder Bewohner von Thames hatte also in Wirklichkeit wirklich einen kleinen Teil einer Okeanide in sich. Also es ist wirklich ein Versuch gewesen, Unsterblichkeit zu erlangen, kann man quasi so sagen. Und hat sich damit, den Zorn der Götter Celestias, den Zorn der himmlischen Ordnung auf sich gezogen.
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydroarchon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina, and we've already proven that she's not the Hydro Archon. So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, die Zusammenhänge zwischen den Inhalten der Steinplatten und den Ereignissen im wahren Leben.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will do her best to help you remember.
Also ist Furina eigentlich wirklich eine Okeanide? Wie man es schon dachte, überprüft die Beschreibung auf den Steinplatten, um ihnen wichtige Informationen zu entnehmen. Du kannst Szenarien, die sich auf die Inhalte der Steinplatten beziehen, in dem im Interviewhandbuch aufgezeichneten Vorfälle finden. Damit kannst du diese Inhalte nachprüfen. Während der Prüfvorgang fortgesetzt wird, steigt der Wasserstand des Brunnens im Menü an. Wenn du alle Steinplatten überprüft hast, wird sich die Wahrheit hinter der Prophezeiung offenbaren. Die wahren Geschehnisse mit der Prophezeiung auf den Steinplatten.
The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then perhaps this process can be reversed as well. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But the heavens still brought judgment down upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing? The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon on, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when and not if.
Okay. Eine der Steinplatten in Ruinen, auf denen die Prophezeiung eingekerbt wurde. Sie beschreiben Fontaines Geschichte der Zukunft. Dies ist die erste Platte, die einst verloren ging und dann von Freminet wiedergefunden wurde. Es scheint den ehemaligen Hydro-Archon zu zeigen, wie er seine göttliche Macht einsetzt, um Okeaniden in Menschen zu verwandeln. Tja, bei der Erkundung der Ruine in der Nähe von Poisson stürzte eine Brücke ein und Navia fiel fast ins Meer, das mit Urmeer vermischt war. Dank des Schutzes der bereits verstorbenen Mitglieder der Spina Rosula wurde sie nicht aufgelöst.
Quite.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater. And the first stone slate tells us that long ago, the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans. This might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
Okay, das war also damit gemeint. Auf ihr ist es im Himmel anmutig schwebende Celestia zu sehen, sowie der Hydro-Archon und sein Volk, die sich gemeinsam vor ihm verneigen. Doch trotzdem scheint Celestia weiterhin seine Strafe über sie zu verhängen.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Neuvillette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
Okay, wir kommen der Wahrheit jetzt exakt näher. Auf ihr ist deutlich zu erkennen, wie der Hydro-Archon im Meer versinkt, umgeben von vielen Menschen. Die Wahrheit da überprüfen. Das muss es sein. Navia stürzt ins Meer.
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
Gut, und jetzt also die letzte Steinplatte. Auf ihr ist im Grunde genommen eine Szene zu sehen, die mit jener identisch ist, die in der Prophezeiung beschrieben wird und in Fontaine kursiert. Die Bewohner Fontaines werden sich schließlich im Meer auflösen, während der Hydro-Archon auf seinem Thron nur noch seine Augen zum Weinen hat. Nein, das war's, er sagt nicht.
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea, but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light.
Tja, die Wahrheit kommt jetzt ans Licht.
Now, so that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
Naja, die erste Steinplatte verrät, dass die Menschen von Fontaine keine echten Menschen sind.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial. All of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
Naja, und die zweite Steinplatte verrät, die Sünde des Hydro-Archons besteht daran, dass er die Menschen von Fontaine erschaffen hat.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese.
Naja,
The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
naja, was die dritte Steinplatte betrifft, ich bin immer noch davon überzeugt, dass sie nach der vierten Steinplatte kommen sollte.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate?
Naja, und die vierte Steinplatte zeigt die Erfüllung der Prophezeiung, wie sie bereits allen bekannt ist.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
Jo.
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated truth.
Hoffentlich ist es so, dass ich hier auch mal, naja, eine Pause machen kann.
Well, did you get it?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you.
Ja, dann fangen wir an.
Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanid's blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct.
Was soll dann die dritte Steinplatte darstellen?
A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of Trials and Justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice.
Soll es etwa heißen?
Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
Ich weiß es nicht.
No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before.
Okay, aufgrund dessen, was ich hier jetzt weiß, es muss der Wal sein, oder? Warte, heißt es etwa... Der endgültige Beweis. Was ist die wahre Ursache der Katastrophe?
This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
Ach nee, sagt das andere Offensichtliche. Der Verursacher für die Katastrophe. Tartaglia.
That doesn't sound quite right.
Warte, es muss ja, sagt Tartaglia sein. Warte, wenn nicht Tartaglia. Ah, das hier, der Wal im Traum, genau das.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the Primordial Sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
Tja, der Wal. Er bringt die Qual. Und er kommt jetzt schon? Ja, hallo Tartaglia. Und es stimmt eigentlich. Sein Teufelsgewand sieht jetzt ein bisschen anders aus. Im Vergleich dessen, was wir bisher kannten.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the Opera House? Wait, was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
Ja, ganz genau. Ich wette, dass es genau der ist, dem Tartaglia in seiner Kindheit begegnet ist.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Teyvat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while.
Moment, er ist ein Monster, das weinend von Planet zu Planet wandert? Das würde doch jetzt, er sagt, ziemlich gut zu Honkai Star Rail passen. Ein Monster, das weinend von Planet zu Planet wandert. Und jetzt auf einmal ist es, er sagt, hier. Das wäre jetzt eigentlich wirklich interessant, wenn es wirklich irgendwann in Honkai Star Rail solche, naja, Weltallwale zu sehen gäbe. Das wäre interessant.
It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the Primordial Sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this.
Ja, das wäre damit, sag auch geklärt. Ihm war es von vornherein bestimmt gewesen, gegen den Wal zu kämpfen. Aber es erklärt jetzt irgendwie immer noch nicht, weshalb seine Hydrovision verrückt spielte, er seine Hydrokraft nicht mehr einsetzen konnte und er, naja, seine Hydrovision daraufhin uns gegeben hatte. Das erklärt, dafür haben wir jetzt, immer noch keine Erklärung. Es ist jetzt, nun wirklich, Fakt, er ist dafür auserwählt worden, den Wal zu bekämpfen, ihn, zurückzuhalten, um nicht Fontaine zu verschlingen. Und daraufhin, auch zurückzuhalten, die komplette Welt zu verschlingen im Nachhinein. Das bedeutet, aber damit wurde auch bestätigt, dass es kein Wesen aus dem Abgrund ist. Es ist ein Wesen aus den Weiten des Alls. Aber trotzdem. Es erklärt im Allgemeinen nicht, weshalb der Graf seine Hydrokraft nicht mehr einsetzen konnte. Das erklärt überhaupt nichts aktuell.
Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late.
Was meinst du damit?
It had already absorbed too much of the Primordial Sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
Nicht unbedingt!
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
Stimmt! Die Prophezeiung ist jetzt wahr geworden. Was jetzt ab diesem Punkt wiederum geschieht, ist noch nicht geschrieben. Steht noch nicht geschrieben. Ab diesem Punkt der Geschichte können wir die Zukunft verändern. Das Schicksal der Welt ist ab diesem Punkt nicht festgelegt. Nach all unseren Anstrengungen konnten wir nicht gegen das Schicksal ankämpfen. Warte, wenn es hier nur um Schicksal geht.
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
Könnte es sein, dass es, selbst wenn die Prophezeiung in Erfüllung geht, immer noch eine Möglichkeit gibt, alle zu retten? Habe ich etwas übersehen? Ja, ich habe Furina vollkommen vergessen. Was wollte sie mir in diesem letzten Moment in dem riesigen Zauberschrank sagen? Was ist ihr wahres Geheimnis?
What's happening with the Oratrice?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Furina! No, I still need answers.